तन्निम्नोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहित कृष्ण चैतन्य साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहित कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये ॐ वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So Hare Krishna everyone. Today we are going to read from chapter 4 verse number 17. So this is the verse. I will recite and then everyone can recite. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam.
कर्मणो अपि बोद्धव्यं
बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः
बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः
अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यम्
अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं
गहना कर्मणो गतिः
गहना कर्मणो गतिः।
Now anyone else?
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोधव्यम्
बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः
बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः
अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यम्
अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यम्
गहना कर्मणो गतिः।
गहना कर्मणो गतिः
कर्मणो हि अपि बोधव्यम्
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोधव्यम्
बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः
बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः
अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यम्
अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यम्
गहना कर्मणो गतिः
गहना कर्मणो गतिः। Anyone else? If not, then we can read word by word meaning. Karmana,
कर्मणा
of work.
Of work.
He, certainly. Api, also. Bodhavyam, should be understood. Bodhavyam, should be understood. Cha, also. Vikarmana, of forbidden work. Akarmana, of inaction. Cha,
cha,
also.
also.
Bodhavyam,
Bodhavyam
should be understood.
should be understood.
Gahana,
Gahana,
very difficult.
very difficult.
Karmana,
Karmana,
of work.
of work.
Gati,
Gati.
Gati,
entrance.
entrance.
So now I'll read translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So, let's read one more time. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. That's the last verse. Gahana karmano gati. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So, we all know this is transcendental knowledge. This chapter's name is Transcendental Knowledge. And Krishna is explaining all this. So, Krishna asked the question here earlier in this chapter. He asked, Arjun said, the sun god Vibhaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? In the beginning of chapter starts with Krishna saying, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavahanam abhyam vivaswan manave praha manurachvak vebravit. So Krishna tells that how he spoke Bhagavad Gita to sun god, and then son spoke to his son, and then Manu, and then father of mankind, Manu, he instructed his son Ichwaku. And thus in this way, Bhagavad Gita came down the disciplic succession. And Krishna said that evam parampara praptam imam rajarsayo vidu sakale neham mahata yogo nashta parantapa. He said that disciplic succession was broken. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly king understood in this way, in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. And then in another verse says, Saevayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratana bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam yeta uttamam. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. And then Arjuna asked question that aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvata katameta dijaniya tumado proktavaniti. Arjun said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? And then Krishna started speaking about, he told how he does that, and then he started explaining Jarma Karma Chame Divyam, and then he explains this transcendental knowledge here. So we are on the verse number 17. So let's see what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord Krishna, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. Let me read again. One has to learn, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed toward this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarma, are prohibited actions. So here Prabhupada explains what prohibited actions are. So any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarma. So whatever Krishna says is action, is karma, is authorized actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. So let's discuss this point by point. Let me read one more time this translation. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. That's why we practice everything in Krishna consciousness under the supervision of our Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, who are bona fide representative of Krishna. And since like I discussed a little bit in the beginning of the chapter, Krishna says that I gave this knowledge in the parampara system. The supreme science was thus received through chain of disciplic succession. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out here, that one has to learn this intricacies of karma uh, under under authorities in Krishna consciousness. So we can discuss these one by one. So if one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. So as we all know, Gita, Bhagavad Gita, this we read from Bhagavad Gita as it is, Yatharup. And this is called Yatharup because Prabhupada translated as it is. He didn't mix anything from his opinion. Prabhupada is not saying his opinion. He's saying Krishna's word. He's referring like in science, we refer. The science goes by reference. So we refer that someone discovered that this disease which is causing respiratory distress is caused by virus. So we know that these are similar to flu virus or something else. So somebody discovered that these kind of diseases are caused by viruses, and then we know that, yeah, and then we build the complexity on the top. Then someone said that, yeah, this virus has either DNA or RNA. Then we know that fact. Then we refer that. Similarly, Vedas are vast body of knowledge that explains everything about what we see, what we feel, and what we can learn, what we can imagine. Everything is there. Recently, I knew that someone wrote that whatever not described in Mahabharata, we cannot conceptualize that thing. So everything is in Mahabharata. Though we don't have all the verses, there are 125,000 verses. I think, yeah, it's more than 100,000 verses in Mahabharata. But nowadays we don't have all those verses because most of them are lost. So Prabhupada is referring from Bhagavad Mahapurana, from Upanishad, and from Bhagavad Gita itself, and from other scriptures like Mahabharata and Ramayana. So he is helping us understand these concepts, and that's why he is referring that we should work under an authorized leader in Krishna consciousness who helps us explain what these terms are. Now one has to apply oneself to, so just for the reference, these concepts are elaborately explained in Bhagavad Mahapurana when Lord Kapil Dev explains all the points about liberation and material bondage, how that material bondage happens, how we are bound to this material world. Lord Kapil Dev explains to Mother Devahuti. So Prabhupada is pointing out here that if one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted action, because it is very difficult subject matter. And Krishna himself, this statement is is given by Krishna. That Gahana Karmano Gati here. Gahana Karmano Gati, meaning the intricacies of the action are very hard to understand. That's why Prabhupada is saying here that it is very difficult to understand. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, to understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. So according to its mode. So to understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, we know that there are modes of material nature. And Prabhupada is saying one has to learn one's relationship with Supreme. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that that Mamaivanso Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatana Manasasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karsati. That every living entities in this world are my part and parcel. So all living entities, everyone, 8,400,000 kind of species are part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna is talking about soul. So Krishna is super soul and we are tiny soul. And Krishna is big, we are tiny. We say Krishna is Vibhu and we are Anu. Anu is like molecular. We are molecular. And Krishna is Vibhu, he's giant. So that's what we have to understand. Also Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Sarvajonisu Kaunteya Aham Bija Pradah Pita. That's what the relationship is. Krishna is our Supreme Father. He says, Aham Bija Pradah Pita. And Sarvajonisu Kaunteya. Sarvajonisu means of all species of life. That is 8,400,000 species of life. And Krishna is father of each one of them. So that's the relationship. That's called Sambandha Jnana, knowledge of relationship. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. So in order to understand this, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, and what is that? One has to, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of Lord, and consequently, one has to act in Krishna consciousness. So this is very important. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Krishna is the Supreme, Ekala Iswara Krishna, or Savabhritya. Bhritya means servant. He says Krishna is Iswara, controller, and everyone else, whether they are demigod or other Swargalokvasi or resident of this Dukhalayam Asaswatam, this material world, this earthly planet, they are all servant of Krishna, eternal servitor, because they are part of Krishna. As I mentioned, Krishna said that Mamaivanso Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Sasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karsati, Bhagavad Gita. Then in also Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, he says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridaya Sannivishto. I am seated in everybody's heart. Sarvasya Chaham Hridaya Sannivishto Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. And Krishna is sitting in our heart, and then what is his work? What is his duty there? His duty is to give us three things. Matta, Smritir and Jnanam. Matta means power to forget. Smriti, power to remember, and Jnanam, knowledge. Three things Krishna gives. So this is the relationship. Krishna is our Supreme Father. We are part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is living in our heart. So everyone here, Prabhupada explained, everyone is eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. So there is no option here. we have to act in that consciousness that who we are. Like hand serve our mouth by putting food in our mouth. In that way, whole body is nourished. In that way, we are part and parcel of Krishna. So we have to act in Krishna consciousness. And there is no other consciousness. Like Krishna says in chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita, Adityanam aham Vishnu. He said, among children of Mother Aditi, I am Vishnu. So Krishna is Vishnu. And the word Vishnu is meaning all pervasive. So Vishnu is everywhere, in each and every atom. In protons, in each protons, Vishnu is there. We were taught that proton is one particle, but nowadays it's not true. Now we know that proton is made of multiple particles, and they are trying to explain where do protons get energy for their spin. Proton is everywhere, and they are spinning all the time. They are spinning all the time. So where do they get energy from? And scientists are researching this topic for the last 38, 39 years. And they are unable to discover that. Where do protons get energy from? Like my nose, my skin, my hair, they all have protons. Air, in the air, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide, everything is there. And all those gases have electron, proton, and neutron. And those protons, either in the clothes or in our body, they spin all the time, like spinning top. So where do they get energy from? So that's what Vishnu is. Vishnu means all pervasive. Krishna is Vishnu, and in the form of Vishnu, Krishna is in every atom. And that's what Prabhupada is saying, that to understand this, we have to understand this. We have to act in Krishna consciousness. Like we have been discussing this topic in question answer sessions, in various discussions of Bhagavad Gita, but it's very hard to understand and give a list of duties that we can do. We can count as a action, inaction, or forbidden action. So now the entire Bhagavad Gita is directed toward this conclusion, that everyone is eternal servitor of Lord, and everyone has to act in Krishna consciousness. So any conclusion against this consciousness and its attendant actions are bikarma. So like I said, Krishna says, Adityanam aham Vishnu, and Vishnu is in every atom. So there is only Krishna consciousness. So everyone belongs to Vishnu, everyone belongs to Krishna. Krishna is in every atom, and Krishna is in our heart. When Krishna leaves this body, people die. Then their soul also leaves the body. And then this body is just a lump of matter. So unless we understand all this and what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, we cannot understand these concepts. So any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are bikarma. So that's what Prabhupada explains. So what is bikarma? Bikarma is any other conclusions against this Krishna consciousness, against Krishna consciousness and its attendant actions. So whatever Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, also in Bhagavad Mahapurana from Uddhava, and at other places in Mahabharata, whatever Krishna says, that is called actions. What is contrary, what is opposite to those doctrine are called bikarma, are prohibited actions. So to understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness, like we discussed, and learn the secret from them. Like we have to learn from our Shiksha Guru, Pyare Prabhu. This is as good as learning from the Lord Krishna directly, because because these authorities, they don't mix their own words, they don't mix their own ideas. Like Prabhupada also, Prabhupada wrote all the literature, he explained all the literature, but he has not mixed his ideas. That's why Prabhupada is saying that we have to work with such authority. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. So Prabhupada is pointing out that we have to understand with intelligence under the guidance of authorities in Krishna consciousness. So who is authority? Authority is one who is speaking Krishna's word. Like in a company, some person is getting authorized by the chairman of the company, so that if the chairman is going somewhere, they can sign the check, and they can click the button these days on behalf of the chairman. So they are authorized and they are doing what chairman is saying to do. They're not doing on behalf of on the basis of their mind, their thinking. No, they are doing what the chairman said them to do. So that in that way, these so Krishna, we can see Krishna is chairman, and then other all delegates are they are authorized representative of Krishna. That Krishna is says in Bhagavatam, Acharya mam bijani. Krishna says, no, that Acharya is myself. He said that I am the Acharya. So Prabhupada, and who is Acharya? It's described in scriptures that one who acharati. Acharati means the one who lives by principles. That is Acharya. Like Prabhupada is an Acharya. So Acharya mam bijaniya. Krishna says that know that Acharya is myself. He is Krishna himself. And so we can understand the importance of authorities. And without that, we are unable to understand what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Like in Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that there are 5 kinds of atatais, what they call invaders. And Krishna said that there is no sin in killing those atatais. So there Krishna explains what forbidden action is. Like he gives, I don't remember all of them, like the one who takes away someone's land, or someone's wife, puts fire in someone's house. Like what happened in Mahabharata, Duryodhan was trying to disrobe Draupadi, wife of his cousin, and that is forbidden action. And so we can see different, like Krishna says, other kind of, like it is described in Bhagavad Gita. I mean, Krishna doesn't say that, but that there are different kinds of atatai, invaders, and he says hatvan atataina. So that if someone is atatai, there is no sin in killing them. So that's so the action that atatai is doing is forbidden action. So in that way we can understand. And also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the here. Yeah. That what action is. So Krishna explains in chapter 18. I hope everyone is seeing this. This is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 41. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra are distinguished by the qualities born of their own nature in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemies. He's teaching Arjuna. And then he teaches that peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness, these are the natural qualities by which Brahmanas work. In the same way, he says how Kshatriyas work. This here Krishna is pointing out what action is. And then he said what farmers do, what Vaisya does, and what is laborer, what laborers do. So he's saying what is action is at different places, teaching to Arjuna, and directly or indirectly he teaching what forbidden action is. Like he said in 12th chapter, Krishna says, Subha Subha Parityagi Bhaktiman Same Priya, that one who quits, who doesn't do either auspicious or inauspicious work, that person is very dear to me. So in a way, Krishna is indicating what prescribed actions are and what does he like, and then what inaction is. So we, let's see, here in the chapter 3 verse 4, Krishna says, na karmana anarambhya naiskarmya puruso asmute nacha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati. Not merely by abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. So if the karma is bondage, is cause of bondage, then people think that when we don't do anything, then we will not be bound. But here Krishna says, not merely by abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from the action, from reaction, because every action has reaction. Nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So this is saying, if someone wants inaction, they don't want to do anything, that will also not lead to perfection. So, but we have to do a karma to get rid of that. Here it's so, but we have to be careful that bhakti is not in action, and bhakti is action with the purpose to realize the soul and the super soul. So we have to act as Krishna is saying, like Prabhupada is explaining that in this purport, that we have to work under the authority to understand, because it's very intricate and it's very difficult to understand distinction between these actions. So I always give example from Krishna book, the Bhagavad Mahapurana, Canto 10, chapter 51. Here it's from Veda base, when Krishna gave darshan to King Muchkunda. King Muchkunda started glorifying Krishna, and also he has long conversation that is explained in two chapters. And here is the some 2 paragraphs that I would like to read. He said, "My dear king, the Lord said, because you are a Kshatriya, you have committed the offense of slaughtering animals. both in hunting and in political engagements. To become purified, just engage yourself in the practice of bhakti yoga and always keep your mind absorbed in me. It's a clear-cut direction. What action is. Very soon you will be freed from all reactions to such sordid activities. In this state, Prabhupada explains here, in this statement, it appears that although Kshatriya are allowed to kill animals in hunting, they are not freed from the resultant contamination of sinful reactions. So that's forbidden action. Here, Krishna says, what forbidden action is. This is clear now here from Bhagavad Mahapurana. Prabhupada explains that, therefore, whether one is Kshatriya, Vaisya or Brahmana, one is to recommended to take sannyasa at the end of life, to engage himself completely in the service of the Lord and thus become freed from all sinful reactions in his past life. Then again, Lord Krishna says, the Lord then assured King Muchkunda, in your next life, you will take your birth as a first-class Vaishnava, the best of Brahmanas. And in that life, your only business will be to engage yourself in my transcendental service. So here Krishna is saying that we have to engage in an indirect way, that we have to engage ourselves in Krishna's transcendental service. And I hope this is clear to everyone. Transcendental. Krishna is transcendentally situated. He is not part of this material world. He is transcendentally situated in Vaikuntha, in Goloka, Vrindavan. And when we serve, it's beyond three modes of material nature. Whatever Prabhupada instructs us to do in bhakti, they are transcendental service to Krishna. A Vaishnava is a first-class Brahmana because one who has not acquired the qualification of a bona fide Brahmana cannot come to the platform of a Vaishnava. When one becomes a Vaishnava, he is completely engaged in the welfare activities for all living entities. The highest welfare activity for living entities is to preaching of Krishna consciousness. It is stated herein that those who are specifically favored by the Lord can become absolutely Krishna conscious and be engaged in the work of preaching the Vaishnava philosophy. So similarly, we have so many examples and references from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Mahapurana to understand these terms, what action is, forbidden action is, and inaction is. Here, there is a verse from Padma Purana. It says, Aprarabdham phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham karme naiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. So the translation is, so it's very intricate to understand the difference between action, inaction, and forbidden action. So there are different stages of dormant reaction to sinful activities. So we do sinful activities because those are forbidden actions. So we do forbidden actions, and that's why we incur sin. So that's what it says here. So when we do sin, there are different stages of dormant reactions to sinful activities to be observed in a sinful life. Sinful reactions may be just waiting to take effect, phalonmukham. Reactions may be still further dormant, kuta, or the reaction may be in seed-like form, bija. In any case, all types of sinful reactions are vanquished one after another if a person engages in the devotional service of Lord Vishnu. Here, the pointing out on Krishna's word here in 10th canto that we have to do transcendental service to Krishna by knowing that it is Gahana Karmanogati. It's very intricate to understand the difference between these, but we try to understand under leadership of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he gave this word especially that there is no other consciousness, like here Prabhupada explains, to understand Krishna here, that one has to act in Krishna consciousness. So consequently, one has to act in Krishna consciousness. There is no other consciousness. Whatever we do is contrary to the here any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are bikarma. That is prohibited actions. So anything contrary to this is called bikarma, forbidden actions. And Krishna pointed out in the 3rd chapter about some inactions. So I hope we made some progress in understanding these verses, and we can take suggestions of Prabhupada, and we can work under authorities in Krishna consciousness to further understand this verse and what Krishna is trying to point out. So I will end here because we have only 10 minutes left. So I will invite any comments or questions.
Very nicely explained, Amarnath Prabhu. But it's still, it says in the translation itself, right? It's very complex to understand,
Yes.
right? The reactions of what we do.
Yes, Mataji. I mean, there is a vast body of knowledge, Mataji, Vedas, Puranas, like I quoted from Padma Purana. And Vyasji explains this at various places, like in Mahabharata also. Mahabharata is called fifth Veda. So whoever can't understand Vedas, they are advised to read Mahabharata, and then all the concepts will be clear. And also in Bhagavad Mahapurana, these verses are, the concepts are elaborately explained in different chapters. Like we can compare, there is an explanation for one verse of Bhagavad Gita in one chapter of Bhagavad Mahapurana, something like that. So in that way we can understand. And there are other examples like Puranic examples, Puranic history, the stories that how people acted, like Mahajanas. Prabhupada quotes this frequently, that we have to follow Mahajana. Mahajano jen gata sapantha. Yudhishthir Maharaj says, Mahajano jen gata sapantha. So there are 12 Mahajan, and we have to follow those Mahajanas, because Dharma satattam nihitam guhayam mahajano jen gata sapantha. Because dharma satattam nihitam guhayam. So the tattva, the elements, the real facts of dharma are residing in guhayam, in the heart of living entities. Because Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is in our heart. So dharma satattam nihitam guhayam mahajano jen gata sapantha. It's very hard. Like Brahmaji did prayers for 1,000 years, and then he understood. So there are 12 Mahajans, like Bhishmadev is one Mahajan, Prahlad Maharaj Janak Maharaj, Jamraj, Bali Maharaj. These are all Mahajan. There are 12 of them. There is a verse. I can't remember. I can't recall right now. So we have to follow those Mahajanas, how they did to understand all these. Thank you, Mataji.
I know, but that's a tall order. So I was just thinking that Vikarma is fairly easy to understand. Those are really horrendous activities, right?
Yeah.
But akarma, to do akarma all the time is really hard. So so some of the things that we do falls into the karmic activities.
Yes. Yeah.
So we are kind of straddling between some akarma and some karma.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, your intention is not to come back here.
Yeah.
So how do we kind of?
Yeah, good question, Mataji. So this Pyare Prabhu says all the time, our ISKCON of Connecticut temple president, who is serving Lord Krishna for the last more than 40 years with Jiva Mataji. So Pyare Prabhu says, if you love someone, you have to show something. You have to give gift. You have to appreciate. You have to say kind words, and of course the feeling. So that's the way of showing that we want to go back to Godhead, right? In a way. So if we want to go back to Godhead, Krishna Loka in Vaikuntha, in Golok Vrindavan, then we have to start showing, start working for him. Like Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, he's teaching slowly, one by one, all the principles. In 12th chapter, Krishna is saying, what is best, your personal form or your impersonal form? So Krishna says, those who worship my personal form are best. And then he's raising, so he's kind of trying to understand and get explanation on behalf of all of us. And then ultimately in 18th chapter, Krishna says, and many people showed this, like you see Pyare Prabhu and Jiva Mataji, they are working for Krishna all the time. Their home belongs to Krishna, the new temple belongs to Krishna, their account belongs to Krishna, their everything belongs to Krishna. I heard they don't spend anything which is in account for Krishna for their personal purpose. I mean, of course, they are working for Krishna, so they can do that, but they don't do it. So we have to. I mean, we see everyone is leaving all the millions of dollars behind. They leave this material world, but we are unable to understand this. That we can't take this. This is not going beyond this neck. So that's why we do. And part of the reason is that we are not trained from our childhood. And those people who are trained from their childhood or from the very beginning are fortunate or have fortunate to get mercy of Prabhupada. They left, like we came to America. We struggled a lot to get this J1 visa, then H1 visa, then green card, then become all the hierarchy, and then earn money. But we have examples of hundreds of I think thousands of Prabhupada disciples and grand disciples. They left America, they left United States of America, they left Canada, they left European countries, and some of them are living in Mayapur and Vrindavan. So those are the examples they set that we can follow, and that helps us understand. Thank you for bringing this point, Mataji. And it's very important. We have to discuss this point very often. And last time we discussed about that Prabhuji who donated his house
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you hope that that Krishna sees your effort and sincerity, like Jiva
Yeah.
Mataji says sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can only hope to make some progress, but
Yeah.
you wonder what
Yeah.
you're doing is enough,
Yeah. But by seeing
It's
other
never
example,
enough, of course.
yeah. But by seeing others' example, we have to see that what we are doing is not enough, and we have to work over time over time on this. I know it's hard, but Prabhupada showed, like, he left his family, his comfortable residence in Vrindavan. So because he is following Krishna's order in 18th chapter, Krishna says that one who teaches this to my devotee is very dear to me. So that's I think around let's see.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good verse. Krishna gives guarantee. I hope we can do that. Then Krishna will be happy. So here, 68. Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakte svavidhasati bhaktim mai param kritva mame vasyat sansayah. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. But we have to do it. So, and then, nacha tasmat manusyesu kaschin me priyakritama bhavita nacha me tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So here is very clear-cut way, but we have to follow this, and then we will become very dear servant of Krishna. And I think Prabhupada pointed this out again and again so that we can understand in his purports. Okay, Mataji, that's what I can say.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
so Mataji, that scenario Mataji was explaining, where we have intent to perform bhakti, but we still do some karma. So I was in like one of the lecture where speaker used the word karma mishrit bhakti. So this is, I mean, is that the right term for when mind is not completely ready to go for say 24 hours Krishna conscious, but we still hanker for some our regular material life?
Yeah.
And we also do bhakti also, so it's become karma mishrit bhakti, right, Prabhu?
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, that's true. I mean, nothing can work without bhakti. So that when they do karma kanda, they do little bit bhakti. That is, so karma kanda mixed with little bit bhakti. But Lord Krishna here is saying, the one that we read from Bhagavad Mahapurana here, that we need, is saying that that king will get pure bhakti, right? So we need pure bhakti here. And also in Bhagavad Gita here, Krishna says that so pure devotional service here. Krishna says pure devotional service. So only after having pure devotional service, the guarantee is there that at the end, we will go back to Krishna. If we don't do pure devotional service, I'm not sure And Prabhupada, that's why Prabhupada explained from time to time that we have to offer everything. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Yat karosi yad asnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kuru sumadarpanam. So he says, whatever yat karosi, whatever you do, yad asnasi, whatever you eat, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, whatever you pray, whatever you worship, yad juhosi dadasi, whatever you give away, whatever you donate, yat tapasyasi, whatever you see, what tapasyasi kaunteya tat kuru sumadarpanam. Give it to me, do as an offering to me. So that's what we have to do. And Krishna said, at the time of death, I come and I take away everything. That's what we see. People die and then they leave all their bank balance, all the property, all the apartments and homes and lands. So I think we have to understand, I mean, we are not trained in that way. Otherwise, we would have been somewhere else. We should read this Bhagavad Gita in front of all the devotees. Gather 5 devotees and read Bhagavad Gita. That's what Krishna is saying. And that's what Prabhupada did. So I think sooner or later, we have to do that. If we don't listen to our father, he will not be very happy. Right, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should we end here if there are no more questions or comments?
Yeah, I think we could, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Vancha kalpatarabhishya
Vancha
kripasindhubhyevacha
kalpatarubhascha
patithanam
kripasindhubhyevacha
pavanebhyo
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Ananta
Ananta
Koti
Koti
श्री
Vaishnava
वैष्णव वृंद की जय
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
जय
jai.
Amarnath Prabhu ki jai.
जय
Hare Krishna,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.